A very lovely day, I'd say, to subject lecturer Dr. Sumaya. My name is Amr Ahnia bin Muhammad Taurat, student ID of 110-2201-20782, currently taking Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication from the Faculty of Social Science, Arts and Humanities. On this joyous and fine day, I will be speaking for this Unit B MC 1223, Mass Communication Concepts and Theories. The title of my presentation today is The Models of Communication. Now, let's begin right away. In this presentation, I am going to bring everyone to understand the introduction for this topic, various models of communication, the conclusion to it, and of course, the references. Right. Through diagrams, pictorial representations, etc., a model is frequently utilized to simplify the presentation of any idea, thought, or concept. Models make it much easier and clearer to comprehend any concept. A process can also be easily understood, and its conclusions is drawn from a model. To put it another way, a model makes learning simple. I must say, this is the most important model to start with because Aristotle was the first person to initiate and design the communication model in 300 BC. This model is quite simple and just a piece of cake to understand. It can be broadly divided into five primary elements: speaker, speech, occasion, audience, and effect. First, the speaker. The speaker plays a key role in the communication. The sender begins by carefully influencing the listeners or recipients to respond in the sender's preferred manner. In other words, the preparation of the speaker's speech should begin with an understanding of his audience. Other than that, voice tone and pitch should also be loud and clear enough for the people to hear and understand the speech properly. I can say that this model of communication is pretty basic and that's it because there is no concept of feedback, no barriers. So this model is best used only in public speaking. Berlow's model of communication is different than Aristotle's because it takes account the emotional aspect of the message and operates on the SMCR model. To begin, S stands for source, M for message, C for channel, and R means receiver. I'll explain what SMCR means in details. Okay, so here is a source here is the sender, or better I say where the communication originates. However, in order to transfer information accordingly, the source must have and include communication skills, attitude, knowledge, social system, and also culture. As anyone should, communication skills are vital because sender must know when to pause, repeat, and stress a sentence. Reminder, always make a point to cross-check with the recipients. Next, attitude. Receiver is sensitive to this because attitude can cut off the whole process in just a second, although sender could speak well. And then knowledge, where sender should know what they are talking about and no lies and beating around the bush. Imagine just blabbing and no point. That'll make the conversation useless too. After that, social system. Sender must know what is exactly and clearly appropriate and sensitive towards a community. For instance, what if a Christian sender asking a Muslim to join him or her for a Sunday service just because the Muslim isn't showing that he or she is clearly a Muslim? Absolutely inappropriate here. Lastly is the culture. This is almost the same as social system with just a slight difference. As an example, if a female politician is wearing miniskirts to church, mosque or temple, that is obviously against the culture for the religion. Berlo stresses on the second part, which is the message. The message is a process which is called encoding process. There are also few elements included in message according to Berlo. First is the content. Human has complex mind and it's very complicated to sometimes explain accurately. So the content first to the initiation of the communication, or better I say, as topic. If the topic is interesting and could go to a conclusion, the communication could run smoothly. Next is element. Berlow suggests that non-verbal communication must also be included in message to mix with verbal to keep the momentum of the convo. Treatment here means how the sender treats the receiver through handling. For example, if the boss, in this case the sender, wants to fire his employees, the message cannot be casual, but instead it must be accurate form as in ambience, tone, etc. After that is the structure. Pretty simple. Construct your message in a complete order so that you don't suddenly jump to conclusion in the middle and leave the receiver at sixes and seven. Then code. It's the key to the mixture of what I explained in message. It must be a well blended so that receiver will be able to decode correctly as how the sender wanted. Next major point of Berlow's model is channel. It basically refers to the medium used in the communication process. I highlighted the five senses of human as medium as how Berlow did. How does one know what the other person is speaking? Through hearing. How does one know if bad milk tastes bad? Through tasting. How does one know what are colors of traffic light? Through seeing. And how does a person know that trash has awful smell? Through smelling. And lastly, how does one know if boiling water is hot? Through touching. So these five senses help human to distinguish things whether they are good or bad and appropriate or inappropriate and vice versa. The last point for this model of communication is receiver. The receiver in this model has a job, which is encoding. The receiver should and must have the same qualities as the sender in order to achieve the aim. In other words, they must be one heart and one soul to run the convo smoothly. This model of communication is special because it is a mathematical one created in 1948 when Claude Elwood Shannon wrote an article, A Mathematical Theory of Communication in Bell System Technical Journal with Warren Weaver. It is widely accepted and it's called mother of all models. I'll tell you why later. But first, I'd like to tell why is this model a mathematical one. Concept of noise helps in making the communication effective by removing the noise or problem causing noise. At the same time, this model takes communication as two-way process. It makes the model applicable in general communication. Communication is taken as quantifiable too, right? There are few elements here which are the sender, information source, encoder, channel, decoder, and destination. Okay, I'll give the bigger picture here, which is how it flows. Sender encodes the message and then sends to receiver through perhaps text a channel like telephone, for instance. Then the sender converts the message into codes understandable to the machine. The message is sent in codes through a medium. Before the message can be understood and interpreted by the receiver, it must first be decoded. In some situations, the receptor machine can also function as a decoder. There may be noise in the channel and the receiver may not be able to decode, which could impede communication process. That's it. Right. The next model of communication is like not far from what we've discussed from channel universe because it has its root from it. First, first thing first, we have to know who created this model, who was Wilbur Schramm, or better I say, father of mass communication studies. Little facts about him, he wrote like 25 books based on communication, and due to his large role in founding and shaping communication studies, he was nicknamed father of mass communication. In this case, he was the one who created Schramm's model of communication in the year of 1948. Information is useless until it is carefully expressed and shared with others. Encoding is very important because it starts the communication process by turning thoughts into content. The recipient's primary responsibility is to comprehend the speaker's intended message when the information reaches him. The message is actually of no use to other party unless the sender can decode or understand the information they want to convey. As a result, effective communication relies on both encoding and decoding, as information cannot flow at all between two people without a. The aforementioned principle is also at the heart of Schramm's model. Coding and decoding are the two essential steps in an efficient communication, according to the Schramm's model. Additionally, he emphasizes that the communication is incomplete until the recipient provides feedback to the sender. Imagine a situation in which a friend shares their thoughts with him but does not respond. Is everything clear in exchange? No, definitely not. Like Schramm was the opinion that communication is actually a two-way process that takes place between the first and second parties. Schramm was of the opinion that when it comes to communication, knowledge, experience, and cultural background also plays a significant role. The message is typically interpreted differently by people from various backgrounds, cultures, or religion. Let me clear this off with an example. David is asking Brian why does he seems uncomfortable. Brian answered, I've had butterflies in my stomach all day today. David then rushingly called an ambulance without asking him. When the ambulance arrived, Brian told David that he didn't mean actual butterflies are in his stomach. Instead, he meant as an idiom to express his extreme nervousness for the exam. The chances of misinterpretation and misunderstanding are eliminated in situations where messages have denotative meaning that is nearly universal. Right. To sum it all up, although some models provide a more in-depth explanation of communication than others, even the most complex model cannot replicate what we go through during a single communication encounter. In addition, you will be able to approach your interactions with others in a more deliberate manner once you become aware of how communication works. This will allow you to better prepare for future communication and at the same time gaining knowledge from previous interactions. Right, these are my references. We've come to the end of the presentation. I'd like to say thanks a million for listening to me all the way until the end. I'd also like to express my sincere gratitude to the subject lecturer, Dr. Somaya, and fellow classmates for always guiding me throughout the session and lesson. Once again, I hope all have a nice day ahead and thank you. Till then, Assalamualaikum and goodbye.